to another episode of the 2020 podcast, Canada's #1 optometry podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Harbir Sayan. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to join us here to learn and to grow. I'm always so grateful for all the support. And as always, I have a big request right off the top. If you get some value, if you enjoy this conversation, please do share it. Send a text to your friend, put a link on LinkedIn, put a screenshot up on Instagram, whatever you do to share the word and let people know that we're having this conversation so we can continue to grow our profession. And today I have an amazing guest, the beautiful, the wonderful Dr. Alexa Hecht. I'm so happy to have her on. It's been a little while, been wanting to get you on. But if you don't know her, Alexa is an optometrist based here in Toronto, and she has an amazing online profile, amazing educational content, and really just is a great person in our profession. So Alexa, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a dream, a life goal. No, I'm awesome. Kidding. It is though, truly. It's such an honor.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm a listener of the podcast and a big fan of yours, and now we're friends.
Now we're friends. Awesome. I know, that's the best part. That's more important, but thank you. That's very kind.
Yeah.
That means a lot. It means a lot when I have amazing colleagues who actually support the podcast and listen and all of that. So thank you very much. Before we get in, I have to make sure that I give a shout out to the Dry Eye Summit. So we are here in Toronto at the Dry Eye Summit. And I want to say a big thank you to the team at Dry Eye for giving us the space to record. And we'll talk a little bit about why Alexa's here, why we're here as well as part of our conversation. So first off, Alexa, why don't we do a little intro? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm from Winnipeg.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So shout out to Winnipeg. Won't be going back there anytime soon.
Shout out to Winnipeg. See you later.
Yeah. No, I shipped my parents here. My brothers are in the States, so we're good.
Good.
And I went to school in Waterloo, and then I never moved home because I met a boy, and that happens.
Got it. But also, by the way, Winnipeg, we love you, and everybody.
We do.
No hate for Winnipeg, but it's nice here. I'm glad to see that you got comfortable here. You met a boy, and
we just got married. Thank you.
That was just a few weeks ago?
Yeah, like 3 weeks ago tomorrow. So it was the best day ever, and we're very happy. But
that's amazing.
I jumped right back into things, We're here now, jumped into work.
Right back at work,
Yeah, we're going to take a honeymoon later.
Good, yeah. You know what, we did the same thing, because life is just a little too busy, and stuff with the wedding gets too crazy, and you just need to get back to routine for a bit.
For sure.
So tell me about routine. Tell me about your work. Where do you work, and how do you practice?
Yeah, so I'm currently an associate at a clinic called Baby Vision. It's a family-based kind of full scope optometry private practice. We do a lot of vision therapy. We see a lot of kids. I love dry eye, so I kind of took on that, and I'm trying to grow that in the practice. Right. Whereas my boss and colleague, she kind of takes on the VT end of things. And we're growing. It's a really well-established practice, and I'm trying to figure out my next kind of steps in there. And I'm there full time, which we'll talk about later, but that's not where it started.
Yeah, right. Well, that actually definitely is something we want to talk about, right? So maybe I should have said this kind of off the top, but being yourself a fairly recent grad, how long ago did you graduate?
3 years in September.
So quite a recent grad.
Yeah.
And you've accomplished so much in those few years. Honestly, the way you're practicing, the social media and all these other things, and how involved you are in the industry. It's really amazing that you've done that in just 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So we really want to talk about that kind of advice that you'll have for new grads, recent grads, how they can build this presence, and the work-life balance and all of that too.
Yeah.
So why don't we? So you're doing more dry eye. How did you get more into dry eye?
I think it had to do with a few things. One, I love makeup and aesthetics and that side of things. So I was like, how can I incorporate that into practice? And then I find it so rewarding to treat patients who have dry eye or are suffering from dry eye and just didn't know there was a treatment available for them. I did have some really good mentors along the way who helped me kind of get into dry eye as well. I don't think I could have done it without them.
You want to drop any names here?
Yeah, I can. Dr. Ewan, Abraham.
Abraham Ewan,
yeah, he's great.
Good. Shout out to him.
Yeah, no, and he kind of, helped train me and just kind of threw me right in. And I feel like that's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to grow in the space and learn new things. And there's so many new treatments coming out, which is so cool.
Yeah.
So I still love primary care. I still love seeing patients, and doing that, but it's the dry eye patients you really get to know, I feel like.
Yeah, so true. Yeah.
And you get to hear their story, and they're so grateful.
Yeah, they really are.
So that's really been amazing.
That's amazing. So that you are leaning more into dry eye. Are you using certain technologies in the office to treat dry eye?
Yeah, so IPL, RF. I've used a couple different kind of brands of machines.
Got it.
But mainly those two things. I love like a zest treatment.
Yeah.
Expressions are my favorite thing to do.
It's very satisfying, right?
Yeah, I'm still doing my own treatments, which I know like.
Well, I was going to ask you that next actually, but great, okay.
I just, we're not there at a stage where I can have someone do it, but that's the goal, I think.
Of course, yeah.
But I honestly enjoy doing it. It's kind of like a nice break from the day, and you just
Right.
like go and get to do like a zap, 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 and
Right.
Push on the glands, and yeah, no, it's good.
By
so
zap,
far.
zap, zap, we mean IPL, right?
IPL, yeah.
Imagine there's other types of zapping that's going on.
Yeah.
So what else are you excited about? Let's talk about specifically work-wise. Anything that you're super excited about that's coming up work-wise? Are you guys looking into new technology or things changing in the practice?
Well, we just moved, so
Okay.
that was big. We
that's
were in a
huge.
basement for a really long time, and we just moved into like a fully like 2-story renovated space.
Wow. Okay.
So that's been
Is the office
really
2
nice.
floors?
It's 2 floors.
Oh, wow.
It's so cool. You'll have to come check it out.
Yeah, I would love to. So describe that. How's the layout there of that office?
So there's optical on both floors. The main optical is on the main floor, but then upstairs we have like some higher end stuff.
Very cool.
And then you can like look over. There's like a railing.
Oh, okay. Kind of like a loft style.
Exactly.
Okay, I love
yeah.
that.
So there's 2 VT rooms upstairs. There's an office, the dry eye room and spa is upstairs as well. And then we have 3 exam lanes. Currently there's 2.5 of us, meaning one of the doctors is kind of working 2 days, retiring.
Right. I get you.
But yeah, we're just trying to figure out like, am I partnering? What am I doing next?
Yeah. Okay. So potentially some big steps coming up. I like that. Very good.
Hopefully.
Very good. Again, this is so exciting. Only 3 years into your career, and you've like worked at multiple offices. You're getting into dry eye like as a specialty care. You guys have renovated or moved into a new potentially partner. Like that's a lot of stuff.
I know it is a lot.
It's a lot of stuff. Okay, we're gonna get to that in a second. Let's talk about the social media stuff. Okay, because you've obviously built yourself a really great presence online. I don't want like that shouldn't be the only reason people know you, but I understand that that's a way that people get. That's how we connected, right? This is how like we find a lot of friends is through these online channels. But talk about how you built that up because you've done such a great job there.
Thank you.
What did you do to kind of get that started, and where was there was kind of a turning point or inflection point where you knew it was growing?
Yeah, I think when I started practicing, it was during COVID, and I like most new grads, I wasn't super busy right off the bat, and I had this spare time, but I still wanted to. I'm always I can't sit still. Like, so I was like, what can I do that's still productive, but also can help educate my patients when I'm not seeing them face to face and the greater public.
Right.
So that's when I like kind of just like started filming videos. And as you know, like the beginning is so awkward.
Yes.
It's so awkward. I look back, I'm like, I can't watch myself. And yeah, it just kind of like, I wouldn't say it took off right away. Like, like I had not very many followers. I actually did start, and I'm thinking I started in school.
Oh, good. Okay.
And that's kind of when, now it's a lot more popular. You see all these student accounts, but there really wasn't that many people doing it. And then the video content kind of blew up, and that's when I kind of like hopped on board to that.
Yeah.
And I felt like as a doctor, I had more credibility, obviously,
Yeah.
And could give more, not advice, I don't give direct advice, but just like education on greater topics. And then I'm trying to think if there was like a turning point.
Well, I mean, before you get to that, 1 second, because I remember a turning point, but it might have been what I noticed was after you already started to get traction, but we'll get to that in a second. But the point about the students doing it, I think that's a really valuable point because you don't have to be, let's say we're talking to a student in second year, third year, whatever right now. You don't have to be giving advice, but I think it's a great way to just document your journey.
Yeah.
I think that's really great. There's people out there who want to know about that and can benefit from that, right? Here's what it was like for a second year going to clinic or third year going to clinic, or what you learned in school. You're doing your, what is it called when you do your
like an externship?
Or not even that, when you're at school, but you're practicing your clinical skills. And right? I like because I do follow some students on Instagram, and I watch, I'm like, that's cool that you're taking photos of that and documenting that. I think it's really valuable. So don't shortchange yourself. Just because you're a student doesn't mean it's useful information. I think it's really great. One of the earlier people I feel like who I remember doing that was Emily, I think, Seitz. She was one of the first I remember who kind of documented the school journey and then transitioned into becoming a doctor. So it's great that you did that too.
Yeah, it's just different content, right?
It is.
And I think too, I always say like, you know, if social media is your thing and you're interested and you're just scared to do it, do it.
Yes.
But it's not for everyone. Like, don't feel pressure to do it, right? Like, I think the more people that are kind of doing it, you might sometimes feel that pressure because, oh, why am I not doing that? Or
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's two I think important things I want to say on that. One is like, don't do it just because other people are doing it, or don't feel stressed. It's not that important for your life and your career, but there are benefits to doing it. And if you are going to do it, then I think it's really important to establish why you're doing it, right? So you're not doing it just because everybody else is doing it. You're not doing it because you think it's going to make you famous. You're not doing it because of the likes. You're doing it because there's actual value that you can provide to somebody else. And somehow it's bringing value to you, I think is super important.
Yeah. I feel like honestly the most rewarding thing is when a patient comes in and is like, I've seen your videos online. And like, it doesn't happen that often, but the few times it does, I think there's people who like listen quietly and don't say something to me or you.
Yes.
But you know, if you search my name, like it comes up, right?
Yeah.
So
and people are searching us, right? They want to know who their doctor is and where they're from and what they do. It's just normal these days.
Yeah, so, I do.
I do it too.
Yeah.
I do 100%.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I do this talk on like e-commerce and social media or creating your digital presence, like for ODs and business owners and that kind of thing. And one of the things I talk about is people research. The younger the generation, the more they're researching on social media.
Yeah, I agree.
That they're finding medical information, they're looking up their doctors, or even just brand research, whatever. It's almost more skewed to social media than it is to like a Google search.
Yeah.
So having that presence can be helpful. And if you're doing it, then again, making sure you're creating the right content. You're not putting out pictures of yourself on Friday night, whatever, you know?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That could be a separate profile if you wanted to do that. But anyways, okay, let's go back to do you remember a turning point? I feel like I do remember something where your things that really started to catch on for you, but do you remember anything specific?
Yeah, I definitely had like one video that went like extremely viral.
Right.
It was it was like a 3 makeup habits you should never do. And that just like, something in that video really like, people, I guess, like being told what not to do. I swear, because like
that's good.
They just get fired up by it. And then I guess like that's where it kind of grew. And then I did a few more like that. And like, you know, TikTok and Instagram, it's so weird because it's hard to know what's going to do well and perform. Yeah,
that's so funny because now I recall that video, not specifically, but I remember that was a video that went really well. But you said somehow or for some reason, right? The fact is that you made this content for so long and you make a lot of the same content, but something about that video, we're not sure what. Took off.
Well, and I've redone like that same style, and like one of them did really well as well, and then one did like pretty well, but like not as good. I don't know. People get like gross content. I've noticed they like seeing corneal ulcers, like
interesting. Okay.
Gross mites on your lashes.
Right.
So but I don't always like aim for virality. It's cool when it happens, but
again, going to the why, right? If that's all you were trying to do, then your content wouldn't be authentic. You wouldn't love doing it. Right. You do it because you like it and it's value, and then once in a while it catches on.
Right.
I had a video that again for the same thing. I don't know. Again, it's the type of content people like seeing, but I don't know why it did so well. But I don't really go on TikTok a whole lot, but I just copy what I did on Instagram and I put it on TikTok. If it's
I do the opposite.
Okay, so I'm older than you, so I'm used to using Instagram first, right? So I use that, and then I was like, oh, this is a good video. I'm also going to post it on TikTok. And on TikTok, it has, I don't know, 10 million views or something.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, like that many.
That's crazy.
It's an insane number of views. And I was like, holy cow, what's going on here? The same video on Instagram got like 30,000. So it still did quite well, but like there's a big discrepancy between 10 million and 30,000. And I actually was like, I'm not going to make another one. I made one more of those with what it was like, here's what it looks like to be nearsighted.
The lens ones,
So I did one more of those about like how to be, or what it's like to be like highly nearsighted, or here's what astigmatism looks like. The astigmatism one did well. I got a couple million as well on TikTok. But like, it's not all that different than other videos that I put out there, and I just didn't know why it like took off so much. But
I have a few of those videos too. I feel like I was like, these are maybe easy views, but I just was like, my face isn't in it. It's really not authentic to my content. So I just was like,
You do a few, right? But then like, if you don't feel authentic, then you move on to the other content.
Exactly.
So you do a lot of like, I like the content that you do a lot on like beauty trends and like eye health and that kind of stuff. And you feel like that goes pretty well. People like to consume that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misinformation on TikTok,
Right.
especially.
Right.
And there's always like a new beauty trend coming out, new like fake eyelash or like cluster lash or lash serum, whatever. And so I try to like respond to that. And I want people searching, you know, eye trends, but also seeing an eye doctor there
so
to like,
important.
you know,
Counter.
exactly, counter some of these trends and like why you shouldn't do them.
Totally.
And I don't want to be like a fear monger or, you know, like say all of this is bad, but like what can you do instead that's safe for you?
Yeah.
Right?
But I think it's so important to have that authoritative voice, you know, a doctor, medical professional saying, okay, you've probably heard about this. Here's why you shouldn't do it.
Right.
Funny enough, just today I got a DM on Instagram from somebody. He's like, hey, I work for, we created this new eye drop that's pure honey. It's a pure honey eye drop.
Okay.
We'd love for you to try our product. And I was like, nope.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's the thing is like, there's all this stuff out there.
Yeah.
And people don't know. People are like, okay, well, I trust this influencer online. And they told me that, what was the one that was so big for a while there? Castor oil or something like that is really good for my eyes. So I'm just going to dump it in. But we need the counter voice, the medical professionals.
Have you seen the color changing eye drops?
No.
Oh, gosh.
Oh my God, that doesn't sound good.
And there's like a website and everything, and it's claiming to change the color of your iris, basically.
Do you know what it is?
No, it's not good.
It can't be good if it does that.
And it doesn't work, and people are like being fooled by it.
Oh my gosh.
So it's
crazy.
Yeah, something new every day.
It's terrible. Okay, so any advice on, like, I think we covered a couple things. Advice on somebody who wants to get a bit more into social media? Like, what do you feel like you did well that somebody could replicate?
I know people say this, but like honestly, just be authentic to who you are. Like you said, what is your goal with social media and what's your mission, your values, and try to put that out there, and like the followers will come. Yeah. Like if you're true to who you are and not trying to copy other people, then people will like you for you. Yeah. Right? I think that's key. Yeah. I think that's key. And I think when somebody comes to your content, they'll see that, right? It's you authentically speaking. You're not trying to be all like something other than yourself. Yeah. And I think I said that to you a while back too. Thank you. You know, I think that's really respectful or respectable. Yeah. Because TikTok, social media in general, makes people do weird things. Yeah. So it's good that you've been able to grow your platform without doing that. Like, understandably, you follow some trends and stuff. You leverage that. That's okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Yeah. You know, if you love singing and dancing, cool. If that's authentic to you, right? It's not me. So if you see me dancing in a video, come and tell me, like, Harbier, you need to get your act together. All right. Okay. So let's talk about real life. Yeah. Social media is not real life. Let's talk about real life. Let's talk some advice, like we were saying, for new grads, people who are coming out. Again, you're doing so many amazing things in your career already. Let's say somebody's just coming out of school or they're a year or two out right now. What advice would you want to give them about starting out, like practice-wise or getting involved in the industry, that kind of stuff? I think, well, a couple of things. One, it's not all going to come at once, and it's not instantaneous. You're not going to graduate, have a full schedule, you know, be at every conference, every lecture. You have to like grow that, right? And I think even when I came out of school and I wasn't busy, I was like, well, why am I not busy? Right. Like, you know, am I at the wrong practice? What's going on? It was COVID. Oh gosh. I was at that didn't help. 3 different clinics. Like, it was craziness. And I think that too, like, you're not always going to end up where you start. Most likely you're not going to be at that first clinic even 3 years later. Right. Some people are, I mean, I don't know. But majority, but you're right. I think that is true for the majority of us. Yeah, and our colleagues, for sure. So like, don't be so stressed about that first job. It's really to get your foot in the door and to get you practicing, because it's practice. Like, it really is. I like that. It's practice. It's practice. That's very good. So I think, and it's interesting to hear that you did that too, because that's certainly, I know obviously I graduated a lot long ago. Yeah. A lot longer ago than you did, but it was similar still for me too, like practicing in multiple settings, getting my feet wet, getting experience in different settings. And then, you know, when the time was right, you know, starting my own office or kind of planting my feet where, you know, I felt like it was the right place. Right. And I think a lot of times people come out of school thinking, I just need to find the right job right away. Yeah. But I think that's great advice. Like, actually use it as practice. That's such an excellent way of putting it. Yeah. What about like getting involved in industry? So let's talk a little bit about some of the industry stuff you do, like transitions and 2020 Beauty. Tell us a little bit about some of that stuff that you have going on. So, transitions, I think this is, if I go this year, it'll be like my 4th year going. Wow, already? Yeah, which is insane. But how did that happen? I think I must have applied to be like a transition ambassador, which the program's shifted a bit, so I don't think you can anymore. But
I see.
I applied that first year, and then I think I actually didn't. I applied as a student and didn't get it, and then I applied as a doctor and got it.
Got it.
And I was like, oh great. So that's a cool conference to go to. I mean, it's so fun.
Yeah, that's more of a fun.
Yeah, that's like fun.
Yeah.
When I was in school, I was part of the AOSA. I was the trustee for Waterloo. So I feel like that really helped me network because I was going to optometry's meeting, and then I was on a board with other like optometry students from other schools.
Right.
So like
that's super helpful.
It kind of created connections in the States especially. And then I mean, social media, like truly that's where I've really gotten some of the cool opportunities I've gotten. Honestly, the coolest thing that's happened to me is I'm a FIGS ambassador, which is
amazing. Hey,
so
good for you.
cool.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, FIGS has definitely made itself, not recently, but it made itself into like this very cool brand for doctors.
Yeah.
So cool that you're an ambassador. What does that entail? What does that mean?
It's not that crazy, but like I basically can like rep their clothes. I get like send some stuff and like a little bit of a discount every month to kind of purchase my own goods.
Yeah.
And just kind of helping like get that brand awareness in Canada basically.
Excellent.
So yeah, that was really cool. When I saw that email in my inbox, I was like, this is fake for sure. Like, because like that's
awesome.
I mean, I wear FIGS all the time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then I have like a long-term partnership with 2020 Beauty.
Okay.
So I create like monthly content for them. They invited me to be here today at Dry Eye Summit, which is really awesome. And so I'm at their booth, kind of like repping their brand as a brand ambassador.
Very cool.
So things like that, which like make me excited about that side of things and social media and like kind of keep me going. Like I think, you know, when you're creating content for so long, you like to see some results and some benefits. So yeah, it's just like getting to work with some cool brands that's
I think
great.
that's one of the beauties of optometry and eye care is that there's so many different channels and things that you could pursue to create fulfillment in the career. Like it's not just a 9-to-5 seeing patients in the exam room. I mean, it can be that if that's what you want, but it doesn't have to be. That could be part of what you do as an optometrist, but you could be on social media, you could be a brand ambassador, KOL, speaker, all these other things that you could be doing. You could have a podcast, right? You know, there's all sorts of things you could do to create fulfillment around your career.
Right.
So I think that like in itself is a great piece of advice for young ODs out there, right? Just think about your career as this broader thing, not just where you practice and how you practice, but all these other things you can do and all these other opportunities you can create. Social media is a way to do it. It doesn't have to be through social media, right? I think networking, coming to events like this is another way to create those opportunities. So that's very cool. So let's talk about a little bit more advice if you have for these younger grads. You know, work-life balance I know is one of the important topics you wanted to talk about. How can we kind of share that information?
Yeah, I think it's you're really hungry coming out of school, or at least I was exhausted but hungry. Like I was like, I want to work full time, see patients like full day.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get burnt out. Like I was working 6 days a week at the beginning, and you can't do that, or I couldn't for myself. So it's finding that balance of, you know, how many days, and I'm still trying to figure it out. How many days can I be with patients?
I think it's always a moving target.
Yeah.
But yes, go on.
No, yeah, I just like, I'm 5 days right now, and even that, I'm by that 5th day, I feel like I'm not fully there, and I can't be the best doctor. So I'm trying to maybe like, you know, cut back a day or figure that out. And then the other thing too is like, when I'm creating social content, I try to do it kind of sprinkled throughout the week, but I mainly do it on one of my days off.
Yeah. So that's another day of work essentially.
Right. So I usually take like Sundays are like no optometry, like like not looking at anything. That's for me and like my recharge day and a bit of my Mondays too. But yeah, I think you have to find out like what works for you, what kind of schedule you like, when do you like to start, when do you like to end, you know, like some days I start at 10, some days I start at 9, some days I end at 5, and some days I end at 6.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm like a morning workout person, so like I have to work out first thing. I can't do it at the end of the day. So like those days when I start at 10, I have my mornings, and I always try to like find time in the morning. Like I'm a morning person.
That's
I need
great.
like an hour before I like
Yeah.
can be a human. So yeah, I think like that took some time to figure that out.
Yeah, but understanding that, I think, it sounds almost silly or trivial, but I think it's actually very important to recognize that, so you can be the best person, for yourself and for your patients and everybody else around you, right?
Yeah, like you have to show up for yourself first
Right.
in order to show up for other people,
Totally.
right? And your patients will see that too.
Yep.
If you came and you were like exhausted and couldn't form sentences,
Yeah.
they wouldn't trust you, I don't
Exactly.
think. So
Exactly.
I think like work-life balance is still, obviously, it's still something I'm figuring out and still something I probably will always figure out, especially as I want kids and a family and but
no, that's great. And exactly. So all of those things make that sort of elusive work-life balance. It's always a moving target, right? It's going to be different for you today. It's going to be different 5 years from now, and when you have a family and all of that kind of stuff, it's always going to be different. But I think that's so important, and I think sometimes it gets looked at as kind of like, I think sometimes, people are being soft if they're looking for work-life balance. But I think you need it. You absolutely need it. And it means different things to different people, right? Everybody's looking for it. Some people just will work more hours or more days or grind more, but they still have some amount of balance. That's their balance maybe.
Yeah.
And others need a different amount. Actually similar, I guess, an example of mine just recently, I'm usually seeing patients 4 days a week, and then I'm traveling to do lectures and things like that, and I have the podcast, and usually I have a pretty good balance on it all. But then last month, we had a couple of big family weddings, like really close weddings, and so we were so enthralled in all of that and so busy with all of that I totally fell off my schedule.
Yeah.
And I was like, just like kind of stressing out myself, like, okay, am I going to be able to keep up the podcast? Am I going to be able to work on these lectures that I'm supposed to give next month? And something had to change in that work-life balance. And it went way over to family, because I had all these family events and spending more time with my family. And the podcast had to go on the back burner, and social media had to go on the back burner. And then the next thing was obviously clinic, and then I had to work on those lectures in between when I had time.
Yeah.
And so I had to figure out, that was my balance last month. So there was a month of no podcast and no social media. I just had to decide to pause it. And I had to come to terms with that was my balance at that time. So it always shifts, even short term.
Yeah, I think some months, like you said, are going to be more family oriented. Like I just had a wedding. I'm not filming social content that week or 2 weeks. Some weeks I'm posting 5 videos and it ebbs and flows. So.
Exactly. So I came back to social media and I kind of put a post up like, okay, I'm back.
Yeah, I saw that.
Whether you probably didn't even realize I was gone, but I'm back. Okay. But it was kind of a strategic, okay, just start to pay attention to me again a little bit, because I'm going to be putting content out there. And then after that, I was like, I had something new to post every day. And some days I was I had 2 things to post, and I had to slow myself down. I'm like, save that one for tomorrow.
Space it out.
Space it out a little bit. Don't get too overzealous. I think I was trying to make up for lost time a little bit.
Yeah.
But you definitely go through those ebbs and flows for sure. And I think riding that wave is important too. Like when you get to the point where you're having to take a break, just accept it and be part of that. Be present in that versus stressing, I got to get back on this.
Yeah.
Right? I think, if we sit in that place calmly, we can gain from that, learn from that, versus sitting there stressing about when's the next time I got to do the next thing. Then you lose the value of that calm period as well.
Yeah. I always have to remind myself, and I don't know if you do this too, but I'm I work full time as a doctor, and all this is side hustle kind of.
Exactly.
And maybe one day it'll be more full time, but for now it's
great.
Work first.
It's so important to remind yourself of that. So I think those are important messages for pretty much anybody, honestly, in our profession, but definitely newer grads, even students. I think there's a lot of great value in all of that to kind of help you do better in your career and have more fulfillment.
Yeah.
I always ask a couple of the same questions at the end of the episode, but before I get there, I want to ask, how can people find you or connect with you online if they haven't already?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, I guess LinkedIn a little bit, Dr. Alexa Hecht, and Alexa Hecht on LinkedIn, I think.
Okay, great. How do you spell your last name?
Hecht.
Hecht.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so I've kind of gone through phases of different questions that I ask in closing for everybody. I think I'm going to give you the more recent one. So I have this segment, I call it You're Welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So what I like about this segment is your opportunity to share something with us, and then you can say, you're welcome. I'm going to say thank you, and you can be like, here, you're welcome. Okay, so the thing I'd like you to share is either a quote that you found really helpful for you, or a piece of advice that you'd like to share with us that you feel like could help somebody in their career? I'll give you a second to think about it.
I'll think about it.
Okay, so let's do You're Welcome.
You're welcome.
Alexa's gonna share something profound and powerful that's always gonna benefit all of us in our career.
Okay, I think optometry is like an art. And I heard that early on, but I didn't fully understand it until now. And it's a skill you have to learn, and you have to be good at communicating.
Yeah.
Like number one, and that doesn't come right away.
Right.
It comes with practice.
So true. I like
so,
that. It's an art. It is.
It is an art, right?
Is, yeah. In many ways, actually, I think you can look at our profession as an art and science. I guess there's some points that are more science, but some that are more of an art.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because you could be the smartest person ever and like so medically knowledgeable, but you don't know how to tell your patient what they have or how to treat it.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
That's the art.
Yeah.
I love that. Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Alexa. I appreciate
This
I'm
was
so
great.
glad I had you on.
I know.
I'm sure we'll find time to bring you on again at some point to talk more about where your career has gone from here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But thanks for sharing all that insight with everybody. And thank you, everybody who's listening and watching to the 2020 podcast, Canada's #1 optometry podcast. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.